Shopping malls have been around for decades now, and it's difficult for many of us to imagine a life without them. They are the perfect place to shop, dine, and entertain ourselves out of the elements. The first indoor mall came about in the 1950s, but the 1970s and 80s were known as the peak time period for malls. Since that time, many malls have struggled to stay in business. Some of the stores that we grew to love are now a distant memory. In this video, we will have a look back on some of the shopping mall stores that are no longer around. Foleys was a department store that was founded in Houston, Texas in 1900. It was acquired by the Federated Department Stores in 1945, and they expanded the number of stores over the next 5 decades. Beginning in the late 80s, it acquired, merged, and transferred to several companies before it was reacquired by Federated in 2005. In 2006, Foleys were all converted into Macy's. The Foleys' 1,200-employee headquarters in downtown Houston was closed in 2005, and the building was demolished in 2013. Zany started out in 1991, and it quickly became one of the industry leaders in educational toys. At their peak, they had 184 stores in 34 states. However, their success was short-lived. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2001, and the stores were all closed by 2003. The brand was revived in 2020 as an online-only operation. Oaktree started out in 1976 with a focus on urban and trendy fashion looks for men. It was sold to the Edison brothers in 1979. By 1995, Oaktree was very unprofitable, and they tried to change up their clothing with a more conservative, mainstream, and less trendy look. Unfortunately, this did not help, and all of the Oaktree locations were closed by 1999 following some bankruptcies. Brookstone was a store that was very similar to the Sharper image. They began in 1965 as a mail-order business until they opened a physical location in 1973 where they sold unique gadgets and gifts. By the late 90s, Brookstone had 150 stores in 32 states plus more than 100 kiosks. In 2018, they filed for their second bankruptcy and then closed all their stores within shopping malls. However, you may still see a few of these that are operating in airports. Things Remembered was founded in 1967, and they specialized in personalized gifts. Their specialty was engraving on just about anything, and they had the perfect gifts to mark just about any special occasion. At one point, they had over 800 locations, but a bankruptcy in 2019 forced them to close all of their physical locations in 2022. Today, they have continued on with an online presence. Dayton's department store was founded in 1902 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This company is probably best remembered for starting the Target division of the company, but they were also instrumental in the history of shopping malls. They opened the first indoor shopping mall in 1956, which was the Southdale Center in Minnesota. In 1962, the first Target was opened. In 1969, Dayton's merged with the Michigan department store chain Hudson's to form the Dayton-Hudson Corporation. The Target division of the company became so large that the corporation was renamed to the Target Corporation in 2000. 10 years earlier, they had acquired the Chicago-based Marshall Field's, and all of the Dayton stores were rebranded Marshall Field's in 2001. In 2004, Marshall Field stores were purchased by May Department Stores and then merged with Macy's, turning all Marshall Fields into Macy's department stores. Hastings Entertainment began in 1968. This chain sold books, movies, music, and video games, as well as functioning as a full video rental store. They had a total of 150 stores across 23 states, and many of these were located within shopping malls. In 2010, sales began declining, and the company shifted their focus to collectibles and comic books. This change did not help them, and they filed for bankruptcy in 2016, which forced them to close all stores by the end of that year. County Seat was a chain that specialized in denim jeans and casual attire. They started in 1973, and at their peak there were 740 store locations within shopping malls all across the U.S. They were known for their selection of Levi's, but they also had other trendy jeans like Guess. The company filed for bankruptcy in 1996 and began to close some of their stores before filing again in 1999, at which time all the remaining stores closed. Tapworld was a mall-based music store that was founded in 1979. Their focus was on cassette tapes, and the name limited them when CDs were coming out on the market. The company was acquired by Tapworld Entertainment, where some of the locations were closed and other stores were converted to their FYE store. Camelot Music was founded in 1956. Eventually, this chain would grow to 455 locations across 37 states. They had taken over the Philadelphia-based record and music store The Wall in 1998, which had 153 stores across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions. That same year, Camelot was acquired by the Tapworld Entertainment, who also closed or converted some of the stores to the FYE brand. Jayrigs was founded in 1970 and was a men's clothing retailer. In 1987, it was sold to Edison Brothers and was expanded to about 295 locations, all within shopping malls. They filed for bankruptcy in 1995 and closed some of the locations before filing bankruptcy again in 1999, where they closed all the remaining stores. Radio Shack began in 1921 as an amateur radio mail order business. It was purchased by the Tandy Corporation in 1962, and they shifted the focus of the stores to electronics. At its peak, there were over 8,000 stores, which were located in the US, Mexico, UK, Australia, and Canada. Many of these stores were in shopping malls and shopping centers. The business was booming through the 1980s and 90s, but afterwards it went through multiple owners and bankruptcies. The company closed most of its stores down in 2017. Today, they still operate online, and there's still some independently owned franchises that can be occasionally spotted. It's very unlikely that you will ever see them in a mall. Elias was a fashion chain that centered around teens in the mall. They drew them in by offering tongue-in-cheek graphic t-shirts, hip jeans, and more. However, as other brands such as Forever 21 became popular, Elias just couldn't keep up. After opening in 1993, the last Elias was closed in 2014 as the brand was turning 21. Babbage's was founded in 1984, and they established themselves as a computer software and game store. They have switched ownership several times, which eventually led to the renaming of the store as Gamestop in 1999. Today they have more than 4,400 locations, but many of us will never forget Babbage's in the mall. Benetton was a brand that was founded in 1965 in Italy. They found success in the 80s thanks to their bright color palettes and their socially conscious United Colors campaign. In 1980, the first store in the U.S. opened in New York. They then opened others across the U.S. in shopping malls throughout the 80s and 90s. The brand failed to remain popular in the U.S., and by 2017 they had shuttered all of their U.S. locations. Currently, the company operates around 5,000 stores in 120 countries. Anchor Blue was a teen clothing chain that was launched in 1972 as Miller's Outpost. In the late 90s, it became Anchor Blue. At its height, this chain had more than 300 stores in the U.S. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2011 after 39 years in business. At the time of its closure, there were 117 stores, and most of those were in California. Payless Shoe Source first started out in 1956. This retail chain became one of the premier affordable shoe stores. If you needed something and you were in a pinch, then it was always a great place to stop in and see if they had what you were looking for. Many of these stores were located within shopping centers and shopping malls. The chain started facing difficult times and they closed all of their 2,100 store locations in 2019. If you have visited shopping malls over the last few decades, then there is no doubt that you've seen some changes. Many of the well-known chains have left us, but their memories have not. Can you think of any others that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching.